Nathan MacKinnon says his new contract may be done soon, but will he become the highest paid player in the National Hockey League? And rookie tournaments get underway this weekend. We've got all of that and more coming for you on this episode of the Locked On NHL podcast.
You're Locked On NHL, your daily podcast on the National Hockey League. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And happy Friday, everybody, and welcome to the Friday edition of the Locked On NHL podcast. I want to thank you for making Locked On NHL your first listen every day. We are free and available on all platforms. Today's episode is brought to you by BetOnline. BetOnline has you covered this season with more props, odds, and lines than ever before. BetOnline, where the game starts. I am Gil Martin. You can find me on Twitter at IceWarsNYR, I am joined every Friday by Rachel Donner. You can find her on Twitter at RMiriam. Happy Friday, Rachel.
Happy Friday, Gil. We have some actual hockey games happening as we are recording this, as well as all weekend long. Now, they are prospect games, but games nonetheless with people in NHL uniforms. So I will take it.
I will take it too. It is the next step forward. I think we can officially say the off season is over. And now we have the rookie camps, the training camps, the preseason, and we are less than a month away from the start of the 2022-2023 NHL season, and I, for one, cannot wait. We will have more and more to talk about as training camps open up and players start to compete for jobs, and injury news starts coming in. So
come on, Gil.
It's
start with injuries right away.
I don't like injuries. I certainly don't, but they're unfortunately a part of the game that does affect all 32 teams. So let's hope for not a lot of them, obviously, and nothing serious. But, one of the big pieces of news, Nathan MacKinnon now saying he's optimistic that he should have his new contract with the Colorado Avalanche, a long-term deal, done shortly. That's what he said on Thursday. And basically, the quote is, "I love Joe Sakic and Chris McFarland. Those guys are great. It's just a little business." I guess the question is, does Nathan MacKinnon exceed the $12.5 million per year AAV that Connor McDavid now has signed? And does he exceed it? And does he deserve to exceed it, I guess, are the two questions. Now, the one thing, basically MacKinnon quiet about what it's going to be, but he said it will exceed $10 million per year AAV. Your thoughts?
Well, he certainly deserves a big, giant raise. I think the Avs have been pretty lucky over the past several years with him only having a cap hit, and I say only, but $6.3 million annually. And I think that has been a bargain for the Avs, to be frank. And so I think if he were to match or slightly exceed Connor McDavid, that would be doubling his salary, which is unbelievable, I think. And it is an interesting comparison. I certainly do believe he deserves the above a 10 million. Does he deserve to match or exceed Connor McDavid? I don't know. I mean, I think there's some arguments there. The Avs did win a cup, and Connor McDavid has not done that. Now, that could be in some sort of bonus clause of the contract. And that's where I kind of would see it going, that his salary would be below Connor McDavid's, but with bonuses could exceed it. And that is my prediction for how it's going to turn out.
That's a logical prediction, and you sort of wonder how they'll work that. But look, McDavid last year led the league in points, 80 games played, 44 goals, 123 points. And then MacKinnon, who only played 65 games due to injury, 32 goals, 88 points. But yes, as you mentioned, a Stanley Cup win. How much better statistically do you feel McDavid is than MacKinnon? And then what are the leadership and intangibles of having led a team to a cup worth under those circumstances?
Yeah, I think really when you look at it, to me, you also have to look at the breadth of the career and the consistency. And that's where I think McDavid just far exceeds MacKinnon. Now, they're both at the very, very top in a very, 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 very small group of players that are elites in this league. And, it's no shade to MacKinnon, but, you look at what Connor McDavid has done over the course of the past several years with, scoring championships and Hart Trophy, being a finalist or the winner. And it's just, there's no comparison to me. So that's why I feel like McKinnon's salary will come in under, maybe it's 11 million. And like I said, with bonuses could go over, but there's no question to me that McDavid deserves the higher salary.
I don't know. I do value that leadership a lot. And, to me, the truly elite leaders, and I'll use Mark Messier perhaps as an example because he, led more than one team to a cup as captain. What, he won 5 over the course of his, or was it 6 in his NHL career? That kind of guy doesn't just play at a very high level. He makes the players around him play better, whether it's by leading by example, by the inspirational speeches that he makes in the locker room, whether it's just bringing the club together emotionally, whether it's through activities on or off the ice. There is something about a player who lifts the players around him. And I think MacKinnon does a better job of that than McDavid does.
Yeah, there is something to that, but I also think that sheer salary is a reflection more of the individual player than what goes on around them. But I think there's also a situation where everybody that's on a line with McDavid gets a boost, and some of them end up going other places and getting paid more money than they would with the Oilers, frankly, because they got the Connor McDavid bump. And so now there are questions on the Oilers. Don't get me wrong. They've had defensive woes and, they've had a problem putting a better team around McDavid. And I think, Sakic has done obviously a much better job with the Avalanche in constructing a more well-rounded team and having the depth players contribute a little bit more. And that has led to it. But you can't really fault McDavid for management not getting him better teammates,
Well, part of the advantage, obviously, that Joe Sakic had was that MacKinnon was only making, and I'll put only in air quotes if you want, only making, what was it, $6.2 million a year?
6.3, but
6.3, excuse me. Yeah, so, I mean, if you've got one of the top, let's say, 5 players in the league making a salary of, a second-team all-star, that's a big advantage that you would have there, whereas McDavid is already making a little bit more money. But, yeah, it's tough. It is tough to say. Look, MacKinnon has been injured a little bit more than McDavid, has never had 100 points in a season, although he's had 99 and 97 in 2 of his years. Only has the 140-goal season, and yet there is something about the way he leads his team that makes me think that he's probably going to come very close, like you said, and maybe worth a little bit more to the team overall than McDavid, because the goal is to win the Stanley Cup, and he has accomplished that. We'll see. We'll see.
I see your Hart Trophy ballot has Nathan MacKinnon at the top.
Well,
because he's the most valuable to his team,
right?
But should he be the highest paid?
Well, that's
I
the
still
debate.
say no.
All right, we'll see. We'll see how that one plays out. We have rookie tournaments and prospect tournaments getting underway all around the league this weekend. Some of them already started. So we will talk about that. But first, we want to hear about Bet Online. BetOnline.net is your number one source for all your pro and college football betting needs and sports info this season. Find all the latest football league developments, game matchups, news, and podcasts, including the early season action right now. BetOnline is also your continued source for all your sports wagering information, including live betting, esports, and scores. It's the fastest and easiest way to check in on all your favorite sports and events, including MLB, MMA, boxing, and golf. And hockey is just a short little bit away. Head to the website or use your mobile device to learn more about the trends and action. Bet Online, where the game starts. So 6 tournaments, keeping 29 teams busy over the next few days with their prospect tournaments. Of course, my New York Islanders are one of the 3 teams that is not involved in any of these prospect tournaments. The other being the Seattle Kraken, and who was the Washington Capitals?
Washington Capitals.
Okay, so 29 out of 32 teams involved in these tournaments. Why don't you start filling us in on the 6 tournaments, some of which have already gotten started?
Yeah, I love these rookie tournaments for many reasons. Number one, I think it's always really good to see some of your young prospects, especially some of the guys that you just drafted, put on the uniform of the team and go out there on the ice. It really gets you excited for the future. And then it also, I think, gives the teams a really good insight into a couple of things about each of the players, and it shows like what kind of shape did they come into rookie camp in, and are they prepared for game situations. And so I think that's really, really important for players and coaches and management to be able to gauge kind of where they are from a fitness standpoint, and are their skills sharp standpoint. And they can get that to a certain degree in practices and on ice sessions, but there's nothing like the environment of a game setting in order to really see if they're clicking or not. And it also gives these guys a chance to show their best stuff out there and prove why they deserve to stay through their team's main training camps. Now, some of them naturally will do that, I think, because some of them will end up on their team's AHL rosters, and so they're going to basically stick around anyway, or they're always meant to be on that roster. But then in some cases, there's guys fighting for spots on the big club, and it allows them to show their stuff, but against real competition. Again, it's not a practice environment. And then you have guys on the other side trying to do the same thing. And
Right.
so, you learn about, can they get the physicality levels up? Do they have the ability to gain chemistry with brand new teammates and line mates quickly? There's just so much that you can evaluate in these tournaments.
Absolutely. And then here's the other thing I think that you learn if you sort of take it to look at it in a slightly different way. These are your prospects, your rookies. Some of these guys are on PTOs, perhaps even. But these young players, they get a chance to shine against other young players at these tournaments. And then if they do well there, they will then go to the main training camp and have to do the same thing against adults. So you get to see, okay, how do they compete against other 18 and 19-year-olds? And then if they do well at that, how much further do they need to go in order to be ready to play in the NHL or in the AHL when they're playing against, 30-year-old and 28-year-old people who have been playing the game already for 5, 6, 7 years at the NHL level? It really sort of gives you an idea, how much more do they need to mature physically? Do they need to put on more muscle? Are they intimidated by playing against some of these older players? There's a lot you can learn physically and mentally about these players from watching them in this tournament, and then if they do well there, watching them again in preseason games and in training camp.
Yeah, and there is, a wide range of players in these tournaments in terms of age. You do have those super young ones that just got drafted, but then there's some guys that it's their rookie season, so they're at rookie camp, but they went through 3 or 4 years of college, right?
Right.
But the guys that are in college and are playing in college this upcoming year aren't at these tournaments because of NCAA eligibility issues, and there are some guys that all the teams know they're just definitely going to send back to juniors after rookie camp, that it's very clear that's what's happening. But this, again, it's just another chance for the teams to touch base with these guys and see them in this environment. But yeah, I think that it really does give these prospects a chance to really show the best of what they can do, and can they handle the pressure in a short period of time, only having 2 to 3 games maybe to play in, even when, a team may be playing multiple games in one of these tournaments, but the rosters are going to change up. I think it's a real good opportunity for goalies as well, because, there's so few goalie slots in the NHL. And so even some of these guys that are on PTOs, right? There tends to be goalies in PTOs because everybody's main goalies are in the main training camp, right?
Right.
So they'll have like 1 or 2 prospect goalies and then a PTO goalie. So maybe this PTO goalie can get a contract in an NHL team system and play in the AHL or ECHL and get ice time and get looks. And so I think it's important for them as well.
Yeah, and I guess we can go back to that old cliche: you never get a second chance to make a first impression. Here's your big chance to make a first impression on management, coaching staff, and then even on your future teammates.
Exactly. But it's been fun, I think, building these traditional preseason rookie tournaments. And one of the main ones that has been going on for a while is the one up in Traverse City in Michigan. And the Red Wings are there, obviously, but the Stars and Columbus and the Blues and Leafs are there as well. It already started last night and goes through Monday. And there's some really fun players. One of my favorite guys from this past draft, David Juraj, who was drafted by Columbus, is there, and they also have Denton Mateychuk. Man, embarrassment of riches in Columbus with some of their prospects, but then you have somebody like Wyatt Johnson in Dallas, who was their 23rd overall pick in 2021, one of the top OHL players. Like, is he going to take that step forward?
Right. And it's always fun to watch that. And there's always a guy on one of these teams that is the big surprise that you've never heard of, or isn't necessarily highly regarded, and comes out in this tournament and just makes a little bit of a name for themselves. And the other thing I love about these tournaments, so many of them are sort of geographic rivalries that you see, having, for example, Detroit and Columbus and St. Louis all in one tournament. It adds a little spice to things. So I really do look forward to all of these rookie tournaments. And again, of course, the Islanders not participating, which frustrates me more than a little bit. But there are 5 more of these prospect rookie tournaments coming up, and we will break some of those down for you. All right, we are back, and Rachel, we got 5 more tournaments. Which one sort of caught your eye next?
I think one of my other favorite ones is the Prospects Challenge up in Buffalo. And that's where you have the Sabres, obviously, the Bruins, the Habs, the Devils, the Senators, and Pittsburgh. So, a lot of young talent on all of those teams. And I think while we won't see Owen Power there, we will see, and have already seen as of this recording, Juraj Slafkovsky, of course, the Canadians' first overall pick, and Simon Nemec, who was the Devils' first pick, second overall. And of course, the Ottawa Senators have several top prospects. there as well, Tyler Boucher amongst them. And I just think that this is a fun one because I think a lot of these guys are going to be raring to go. There's a lot of the European players there that I always love to watch, and I'm also a sucker for Sabres prospects like Matt Savoy. And I think that, between Ottawa and Buffalo, who are kind of, I think, on the cusp of having a really great youth movement, I think that this is one of the fun ones for sure.
No question about it. Then, we can go West Coast, the rookie face-off hosted by the San Jose Sharks. You got the Sharks, the Ducks, the Kings, the Avs, the Golden Knights, and the Coyotes. Scary to think that there may be more fans attending some of these rookie prospect games than at Coyotes home games later this year. But
no, they're selling okay, but we'll see.
I do digress, and I am joking, but you got some good players out there. Mason McTavish from Anaheim, probably going to be their third overall pick back in 2021. William Eklund, seventh overall pick in 2021 by the Sharks, going to be there. I am looking forward to seeing what some of these guys can do. And again, you got all these teams, Anaheim, LA, San Jose, you got the rivalries going, and that just adds another dimension to it.
Yeah, and then of course you have the Southeast Spectacular in North Carolina, Friday through Monday, with the Canes, the Panthers, the Preds, and the Lightning. So yeah, a little bit of a Southern battle going on there. And Ryan Suzuki from Carolina is, I think, one of the bigger prospects there. And then you have Yaroslav Askarov for the Preds, who I am really excited to see how his development is coming.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how he fares out there over the next few days. And then, again, prospects showcase, the Hurricanes, the Lightning, the Panthers, the Predators. I love it. I mean, just and then the Canadian teams will have the Young Stars Classic. Calgary, Edmonton, Winnipeg, and Vancouver going at that one in what is it? Penticton? Thank you.
BC,
Penticton,
yeah.
British Columbia. That one getting underway Friday.
Home of the V's.
Yes, that is right. That is right. And and then you have one other tournament named after Tom Kurvers, the 2022 Tom Kurvers Prospect Showcase. The Blackhawks and the Wild, the two teams involved in that. And again, two division rivals who don't always like each other, and two teams, especially the Blackhawks, they've got a lot of prospects there who you're certainly looking forward to seeing. And look, even the Wild, Marco Rossi, for example, going to turn 21 soon. He's going to be there for the Wild. Lucas Reichel of the Blackhawks going to be there. I'm looking forward to seeing that. And you get the feeling when you have a tournament that only features two teams, by the time the second and third games of that tournament are being played, there's a little bad blood after a while.
Yeah, I think there's a couple of just two team back-to-back series that aren't really tournaments per se. They're just doing a couple of games, and I think that doing that against the same team, I think, provides a different opportunity than some of these tournaments do. Now in the tournaments, you get to see them against different kinds of competition, different levels of competition. And there's an advantage to that, but there's also the instance where a lot of these guys are going to end up on AHL teams. And so when you get them in back-to-back games against the same team, that's how minor league hockey works, right?
Yep.
You have a lot of back-to-backs. You have weekend series against the same team where you have two or often three games against the same team in a row. I think that gives you a little bit of insight as to, how their fitness is when they're playing two games in a row. and what it's like when you have to play the same team back to back. And I do like that there's a couple of teams that do that. So like you said, the first one was the Blackhawks versus the Wild, and the other one is my Flyers against the New York Rangers.
There
And
you go.
there's a series tonight and on Saturday are the two games, and those will be a lot of fun as well. I mean, for all that I've said about the Flyers over on Locked On Flyers, there are some young prospects that I am very interested in seeing how they perform, and the Rangers do have some really great young prospects as well. And so it should be a lot of fun seeing those two teams go back to back. Again, there's going to be a little bit of pride about it because it's a geographic rival going on there, especially Philly, New York. I think has a lot of grudge
A lot
going
of juice
on.
there. There's a lot of juice
Yeah,
there, you know?
yeah.
So, yeah, it should be great. And more than that, it is just great to have competitive, hockey, like you said, players out there wearing their NHL uniforms, getting a first glimpse at some of these guys in those uniforms and seeing what they can do. So I'm excited. Hockey is back, and bring it as far as I'm concerned.
Exactly. I am very excited to actually physically go into an arena and watch some hockey this weekend. I'll be heading to Allentown, Pennsylvania for Flyers versus Rangers rookies.
Excellent. Something to look forward to. Enjoy that, Rachel. I am Gil Martin. I'm on Twitter at Ice Wars NYR VSNYI. She's Rachel Donner on Twitter at R Miriam. We are here every Friday talking about the biggest stories from around the National Hockey League right here on Locked On NHL. I will be back Monday with 3 of our local experts talking about their teams and what's happening with them. Thank you so much for listening to the Locked On NHL podcast. Have a great weekend, everyone, and stay safe.